So the two topics in risk taking that you're next going to explore is how do people respond to risk and what are the benefits and dangers of being involved in a risk taking activity. So let's have a quick squiz, shall we? Alright, we all respond differently to a risk taking activity, and it could be anything from being scared, terrified, petrified, oh my goodness, get me out of here, to nervous, hesitant, I'll give it a go, but I'm not looking too confident, to excellent, I'm so excited, I'm pumped, I'm going to be in the zone, this is such a great challenge, to, oh yeah, it's enjoyable, but, you know, I've done it before, right down to, this is so boring. Alright. Oh look, a graph. Now this is going to be a great example on how to determine how someone might respond to a risk-taking activity. Essentially it comes down to two things. How hard the activity is and what their skill level is. Let me give you an example. Let's say tomorrow I said everyone was going to go base jumping. We're going to jump off the highest building in Melbourne. And I think it's pretty safe to say that that kind of difficulty level is going to be pretty high. No pun intended. And competency / ability level, well, let's pretend everyone's jumped off a chair before. So we've got some ability, but it's not quite the same as jumping off a building, which would be all the way over here. Okay, so when we draw a line and connect the two together, we find that we are most likely to be terrified about the idea of jumping off a very high building, having never jumped off anything higher than a chair before. It's safe to say I'm going to be terrified. Okay, so this is a good example. When the degree of difficulty is so high that it does never come anywhere near your ability, the most likely response is going to be terror. Let's flip it. Let's talk about something that's really easy. Let's say I said, alright, all we're going to do tomorrow is ride the bicycles in a circle around the basketball courts. It's not very hard and most people can do it. So essentially I would assume that most people would be bored with that activity. Although I'd probably find it funny. But yeah, most people would find that pretty boring. The goal really is to get this, the peak performance. This is going to be the best part. This is when your ability matches the degree of difficulty. Doesn't matter whether you're a first timer and the degree of difficulty gets adjusted to suit your first timer ability, or if you've done it a few times and you pick something that's relatively hard but not too hard, you're still going to enjoy it. Or you're a professional and you're going to go for a professional level, whatever it is. When your level of ability matches the degree of difficulty of the activity, you're going to feel like you're in a flow state. You're in the zone. Everything's just sort of happening the way it should. You knew when the ball was going to get passed to you, and you just knew that if you took 3 steps to the left and did a little hook turn, you'd be able to shoot the ball into the hoop. It just was all happening the way it should. That's peak performance. It happens in sport, it happens in activities that you participate in, happens when you play a musical instrument that you're skilled in, whatever it is. When your skill level matches the demand that's been put on you, you get peak performance. That's a good graph to remember, by the way. I won't say exam, will I? Alright. Just quickly, there are risks we take in life and they tend to categorise low, middle and high. Low are the stuff that the negative stuff is far outweighed by the positives. So if I take this risk of learning how to ride a bike, if I fall off I'm going to get a little bit of a graze on my knee. But the positives are I'm going to learn how to ride a bike, I'll be able to ride with all my other friends who ride bikes, I can go on adventures with my bicycle, I can go find ET and we can ride over a moon, all those kind of things. You know, it's great, lots of positives happening. However, my mid-level is when it sort of balances out. these are your peak adventure opportunities for most of us. It's an opportunity to conquer some fear. The best example I can give you is Year 9 camp. And our fears were a mixture of things when you go on camp. It's, who am I going to camp with? Am I going to get along with people? I've got to be with them for a week. Right up to, we've got to climb a mountain. We've got to swim the deepest sea, whatever it is, but within a reasonable difficulty. Go abseiling for the first time in my life. They're your mid-level stuff. And then last but not least, the high-level risks are things when the negatives outweigh, the negative risks outweigh the positives. So yes, it might be great if I climb this mountain or if I base jump off the top of a building. However, if something goes wrong, I'm probably going to, end up dead. So it's really a lot of the safety participation stuff that we talked about is really relevant for these two here. But risk-taking has as many benefits as it has dangers, so we need to weigh that up at all times. For example, the benefits could be anything from challenging a fear that you have to learning a little bit more about yourself, gaining an appreciation for the environment in a totally different way, or just, achieving a dream or a goal. Climbing something for the first time because, well, I've always wanted to do it and I've done it. However, there is the flip side, and that is the danger side. And that can include injury and death. They're the most obvious. But it can be other things like becoming lost, damaging equipment, environment, or the community at large. It can also include the law changes that will come as a result of these things happening. The death and the getting lost and the embarrassment to community when things go wrong. So, where does touching the void come in? Well, it's great that you asked me that. Touching the void is all about highlighting the benefits and dangers of doing a risk-taking activity. Obviously, it's a high-risk taking activity. But let me tell you a little bit about the movie before you watch it. Yates and Simon are two men that climbed one of the peaks in the Peruvian Andes that hadn't been climbed before by man or woman. And the film follows their climb, and something pretty serious happens along the way. And it's all about human endeavour. How do people persevere in the face of so much that could go wrong? And how do people counteract the various risks that are going to happen on something that is a fairly risky activity? So weather conditions can change in the blink of an eye. And how do they manage all of those dangerous situations? So whilst you watch the movie, you're welcome to take notes if that's how you like to stay engaged with the film. That's certainly fine. However, if you are going to take notes, I highly advise you to do it in your exercise book and not on your iPad. In fact, I'm encouraging that your iPads are put away so that you can absorb yourself into the film and really enjoy what's happening and take in what's going on. If you are going to take notes, jot down what's happening. They're climbing here, they're going down here, they're doing this happened, they said this, they said the other. The main plotline stuff, I highlight what decisions are getting made, and there's going to be some pretty serious decisions getting made throughout this film. And then consider how are the three characters, so the two guys climbing and the one guy down in the base camp, how do they respond to the experience throughout the various incidents of their climb. It's a documentary film, so it's a reenactment of a very real story that happened, and you might find yourself as you're watching it going, how on earth did these two men survive? So enjoy, and I'll see you next time.